This program, I want to welcome you to tonight's session, which is for week 4, and we are going to be covering marketing and selling business to government, business to business, and business direct to consumer. Okay, this is going to be a lot of information in a short period of time. And so, as I mentioned before we started recording, I don't expect you to learn this in 1 hour. This is really something to really introduce the information to you. You're gonna probably have to go back and watch this again, maybe even a few times, because I can tell you, it took me over a decade to learn this stuff. And what I try to do is just condense it into this 1 hour. It's gonna be a lot of information. So there's gonna be a download you can have for this information, because there's a lot of live links, because you're gonna need to do a lot of research, market research and such, to actually implement some of these ideas. So we'll make that available to you as well. And of course, in our one-on-ones, we'll dig deeper if you're interested in talking more about marketing to these types of entities. Additionally, any questions you may have, I'm gonna ask you to hold them until we have our Q&A session and or our panel discussion, just because I'm gonna need this whole hour to really go right through this, okay? But as I said before we started recording, please just put those questions in the chat. That way we make sure nothing gets lost. And I don't think I said it, but I'm Will Holmes. And for Renard Brown and for Keisha Hayes, we want to welcome you to tonight's session. We're going to go right in. Marketing. Where do I start? Okay. So many of you obviously have been in business a while. Some of you are a little newer than others. It's okay. Some of you are trying to restart, create new campaigns. No worries. Whenever we work with a company, whenever I worked with an organization, large or small, we just start with the same kind of process, and it seems to work. So number one, what I'm going to ask you to do is really define your brand. So what does that mean? You probably hear branding and create a brand. And so usually when we talk to people about their brand, it's the first question is, who are you? What is your voice? So when you talk to your customer, how are you talking to them? Are you advising them? Are you helping them? Are you showing them the way? Are you fixing a problem? You're offering a product? You're inviting them to events? What are you doing? You know, how does your customer hear you? What is your value proposition? So value proposition is, in the simplest sense, at least as far as I've always found, it's really what's in it for the customer. And I've found that you can usually do pretty well if you stay focused on customer needs. Also with your brand, it's what makes you special. What sets you apart from your competition? What sets you apart in the market? Other people may sell what you sell, but why does yours taste better? Why are your events more fun? Why do you have better crystals? Why do you have better acupuncture sessions? What makes your place better? What's in it for the customer? And you know, I'll say this, you know, when it comes to researching, either when you're trying to rebrand or create a new brand or launch a new product or service, or just kind of start fresh, it's really important that you do your research. And you may have heard of market research in different ways it's done. In its simplest sense, what I found is the best thing to do is to get out of your head and talk to potential customers. Just talk to them. And you don't have to present your product. It's not about so much selling to them at that point when you're doing your research. It's really understanding their current experience and what would they want to make it better. So if they're in a league right now where they go to athletic events and they participate, and you talk to them and you're thinking about starting something similar and be a competitor, just talk to them. Say, hey, how's your experience with this? Oh, I love it. It's great. It's so much fun. Keeps me in shape. Okay, well, what can make it better? What would be a better? Oh, if they gave us free t-shirts, or, you know, as part of the thing, or if they maybe had happy hours after, or if they maybe did this or did that, even had some group trips, or maybe had a good Facebook page. You're taking notes to say, wow, okay, these are things I can definitely do when I offer my version of this or my enhancement of this. So do your research, and the best research is talking to people. Number 2, get on the internet. It's very important, okay? You have to have a website. Well, I'll say this, you need to have a web presence. There are different ways to make that happen with landing pages, and even if you just have a Facebook page, it's just really important that people can find you on the internet. Social media is important, but it should be really based on the channels your customer uses. So, maybe just checking the box to have a Facebook page, okay, but if your customer really uses Facebook to make their buying decisions, then I highly recommend you put a lot of energy into it and you really connect with your customer in an authentic way. Same thing with the other channels, Instagram and TikTok, etc. All of them are different. They should be used differently. So it's important to remember that, but even more important to remember, be where your customers are looking. Like for me, Facebook, Instagram, for me, it's different people follow me on those two channels. LinkedIn, though, is really where I get the most engagement because my clients are government agencies and banks and universities and large companies and small companies as well. So if LinkedIn for me is great, LinkedIn and Facebook work really well for me. But you have to figure out where your customer looks, and that's where you want to be. And if you only have, and all of us only have so much money in our budget, so you want to use your money wisely and spend the money where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. Be where your customers are looking. Number 3, and the way do you figure that out? Back to number 1, talk to them, ask them questions. They're going to tell you everything you want to know. Number 3, communication strategy. I highly recommend having a calendar of like, for example, think about what your customer likes. You don't know, of course, ask them, talk to them. Based on what they like, think about each month and over the next 12 months and what is happening in your community or nationally or whatever that they may find interesting because of their particular interests. And if you can figure that out, that gives you things to talk to them about and possibly events to host, ways to bring them to you, invite them to you and attract them to you and provide great information to them. So think about planning a calendar and you create events, you create information for each of the different channels. Maybe it's a video here, if it's a post here, whatever the case is, it should be a strategy, it should be planned out. It shouldn't be, oh, today I'm going to post this or today I'm going to post that. I highly recommend having a strategy so you create a conversation with your client. Also understanding if you have an event or you want to have something or an initiative you're launching, give yourself 4 to 6 weeks to talk about it. Let people know, give them time to sign up. Give them time to join your email list. Give them reasons to join their email list and also find the things that really excite them. I was talking to a business owner today and she has a hair salon, but she's also selling hair products. I said to her, it's like, hey, where do people really engage with you? And she said, well, most of my clients are women and usually they engage with me pretty heavily on Instagram. I said, okay, what do they like to talk about? And so she said, well, really, usually I'm just talking about hair products and stuff. I said, well, what does your target market like to talk about? Like just in general. And she said that her particular target market likes to talk about food. They like to talk about they like to hear about how-tos, and they like to hear about recommendations for where to go for food, where to go for certain products and services. So I was like, okay, why don't we create a post where let's say date night. And so date night, you're giving them recommendations on where to go, tagging some of maybe your partners in the community, their restaurants. Maybe you're tagging places people can go, women can go to get dresses. And you're giving recommendations where they can go and get, the clothes they may want to wear. And of course, because you sell hair care products, maybe you're giving them a how-to on how to get their hair ready or things they can do to save time and be ready. You're giving them the whole solution in either one post or a variety of posts. And so she's going to try it out. She's going to test it where they usually interact with her, which is on Instagram, talking about the things that they really seem that particular target market likes to hear about. So we're going to test it, we're going to see, but we're giving the client what they want on the channels they use. Number 4, so hopefully all this energy is creating people interacting with you. So you should have a process for handling leads from receipt to sale. So a lead is when they say, hey, I'm interested, or they may like it, or they may join your email list, or they may submit an inquiry, maybe they buy, or maybe they ask about a product. What do you do with those people, those inquiries? What do you do with them? How do you handle them? Who on your team handles them? Who has the skill sets to handle them properly? And how do you leverage technology so you can really have a smooth process? It's as seamless as possible for your potential customer. And number 5, in this kind of quick start kind of process, post content. Okay, so if your particular target market likes to post content on social media, great, do that. Give them what they want. Be as authentic as possible. Okay, they understand, and all of it ties into your brand. So for my brand, if you follow me on social media, you see I stick to really 3 things: father, leader, businessman. I don't talk about anything else. I just really talk about that stuff. That's my categories for my brand. So for them, when I post content and it's about that stuff, you may choose something different. You probably will. For me also, my particular clients are really government agencies, banks, universities, etc. So we have meetings. They don't really buy things on my website. That's very rare, unless they want to buy time, like a meeting. And they can do that through the scheduler, but usually we have to have a meeting, because the things that, with the ticket price for the things that we sell are kind of big. So that usually, you're not going to get a credit card, to pay for a whole government contract. It's usually not, in most cases, doesn't happen. So we have to talk, customize it, and put together a project plan. A lot of people are involved. So my particular work and my marketing happens with proposal writing. Yours may be different. Maybe they come to your shop. Maybe they just purchase right online, maybe a more direct approach. Either way, you should pay attention to what works, and you should, the things that are working, do more of it. Things that are slowing down the process or creating bottlenecks or creating feedback from your customers saying, hey, this isn't working, you should work to change it. So, but you should definitely be tracking your costs, the source of the lead, responses, appointments that you get, the web traffic you get. All these things are easily tracked in your website, and how many visitors come to your shop. You should pay attention to that. The peak times, that helps you to figure out scheduling and such. How many calls you get in response to that ad, how many emails you get, and of course, how many sales. Do more of what your customer likes. Only way you can really know that is if you talk to them and you pay attention to the responses to the ad. And I highly recommend, this is before you even do any paid advertising. Try and see what you can do to launch this content and test it first before really paying ads. You don't want to put good money behind bad content. Test it out, see what kind of reaction you get. If you get a strong reaction that's positive, put some money behind it and reach more people. But of course, you want to create a budget, and you would do that on your cash flow projections. Now, that's marketing, kind of step by step to kind of how to get started. With selling, so hopefully if you market properly, you'll have an opportunity to sell to your client. And so here are 10 steps. And so when I talk about business, I always say it's business. People tend to think business is complicated. I think it's easy. I think it all comes down to finding a need, filling a need, and getting paid. That's my little thing I had trademarked there, my little saying. So, and it's going to be the title of the new book. It's really all this curriculum. That's what it's about. And so, when you're thinking about selling to people, I want you to keep that in mind, keeping it really simple, understanding their needs. Okay. But even before you do that, I really want you to think about, really ensuring that you understand your expenses. I think that's probably the main thing I've talked to most of you about in our one-on-ones. So you can come up with the right price. You need to know your expenses, and then make sure that your expenses are covering everything, all the things in your business, all the expenses. If you're selling cupcakes, maybe it's 1 cent for each cupcake goes into your retirement, or 1 cent for each cupcake, or 10 cents goes into your utilities or payroll, or whatever the case is. It should be accounted for in everything that you sell. So, and that also gives you the confidence to, so for example, if you know that your base cost for each cupcake is $3.49, but you go out in the market and you're selling it for $3.99 a piece, and you do a bulk order, and someone says, well, look, I'm not going to pay $3.99, I'll give you $3.89. They want a deal. You can confidently say, well, look, okay, I'm not going to make 50 cents per cupcake, I'll make 40. And as long as you're not losing money, that may be something you decide to do. And then, of course, understanding how that affects your revenue goals and profit goals, et cetera. But, usually, if it's a good deal, making a profit, even with a little bit of a discount, is usually better than not making any money at all. But each situation is different. And as long as you know your numbers, it's going to make you very confident when it comes to negotiating. And confidence is a key in sales. Number 2, research potential customers and find their needs. Okay, like I said, talk to people. And if you have past customers, talk to them and say, hey, how did you feel? Because see, people usually make a lot of buying decisions based on their emotions. So you have to understand, how do they feel about you? Like so let's say if I was your consultant and you were paying me, I would say, look, how does, us working together, how does it make you feel? Hopefully you feel like you trust me. Hopefully you feel like I know what I'm talking about. Hopefully that the information I'm giving you actually makes sense and helps you to do something, maybe a little different that helps your business. But I have to ask you those questions. I should not assume. And by gathering this data, it builds my value proposition. So when I talk to future customers, I can say, well, my past customers say the reason they choose me is because I'm able to deliver as promised. They can trust me to make sure everything is taken care of. They believe I know what I'm talking about based on my past experience and my results, right? I can say that confidently based on my research from talking to people. So if you haven't reached out to your past customers, or maybe you even have existing customers you've been seeing for a while and they just keep coming back, you should talk to them about what they like and ask them, are there ways that you can improve? That'll help improve their experience and make them probably stay with you longer and continue to spend money. Maybe even send you some referrals. So think about, when's the last time you reached out to your past customers? And if you don't have their contact information to reach out to them, maybe all you have is the information when they purchase something for you. Definitely input it into your process to gather contact information. Even if they're a walk-in, they're a cash client, cash customer, whatever, you should have contact info from everyone. That builds your marketing list and allows you to continue that conversation with them. When you are selling, it's important. So number 3 is creating a value proposition that identifies their headache, and so you can sell them an aspirin. And so, like I said, it's not about what you think they should buy. It's not about what you think they should do, or they should use this because this is better for them. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. What really matters is what the customer wants and what they need. If you stay focused on that, and you create an aspirin that addresses those needs, they're going to be happy and they're going to pay you money. Number 4, when you're selling, you should be where they are looking, be where they are. It gives you a chance to interact with them. And then you should make sure you have a systematic way of creating leads and turning those into appointments or opportunities to sell to them, or leads that drive them to your website, or leads allow you to send them an email and invite them to do something, and you can create a call to action. There should be a systematic way of doing it. Also, you should know you should have a customer life cycle planned out. So they buy from you, then what? How do you get them to buy again? How do you get them to refer people to you? If they normally only buy 3 things, how do you get them to buy 4 things? That should be part of your process. Number 5, this is really important. And what we're going to do during the Q&A portion in the 3rd hour, I'm actually going to do a role play with you. So I'll ask somebody to role play with me. I want to show you how to sell, how to talk to a customer and essentially narrow down all the things that I could maybe sell them, but by asking them lots of questions, I'm going to understand what they really want and need. And then from there, I'll then customize a solution, present it to them, and then my objective is to get them to say, yes, they want me to send a proposal, and I send it out. And then, of course, they make a purchase. So we're going to have a role play on that later on. And so, because I want to show you that, so good salespeople sell. So a good so when I say good, I mean, that's better than average. A lot of average salespeople are lower or below average folks. They waste leads and things like that. Don't take every opportunity. They're not confident. They're not consistent. Good salespeople though are consistent. They know their product. They know what to say. They have a script. They're consistent with it. But they often just jump in and just start saying what the product does. And that's okay, and that may work. But what I recommend, and I can tell you what works a lot better, so good salespeople just sell, great salespeople listen, and then customize a solution that addresses the problem that they want fixed now. So imagine let's say if I was Samantha and someone came into my shop and I just started saying, hey, here's some crystals that you would like. It matches your dress or matches your outfit, right? Or, hey, it's March, and so the moon is here. And so these crystals are good because right now we're in a transition with the spring equinox, and right. And they're like, oh, I really just wanted, I just wanted a Ouija board, right? Something like that. And so, but if she had instead said, hey, welcome to the shop. How can I help you today? Oh, well, I'm in here looking for, for a Ouija board. Okay, well, great. Ouija boards, they're over here. What, are you need one that's maybe for, and she can ask questions to help that customer find the right solution for what they're looking for. And then also maybe upsell, because that she's asking questions to find the needs, maybe even sell more than one or sell, multiple things in the store just by asking questions first. And then, and of course, if you can write them down as you talk to them, great, because details matter. If you can't, you're gonna have to have a good memory so that you have to pay attention so that you can customize based on what they really want. I'm gonna show you that later on. Number 6, it's very important that you ask open-ended questions to capture information. So an open-ended question would be, so like every time I talk to you guys, when we have our one-on-ones, the first thing I say, hey, how you doing? Hey, how's your business going? Lets me know how you feel that day. Lets me, kind of feel your energy. Lets me know if things are good, things are bad. Lets me know, oh, wow, this may be an emotional meeting. Whereas a closing question might be, okay, client, do you want to meet with me tomorrow at 5 or tomorrow at 6? And that's a great sales technique, because I didn't say, do you want to meet with me? I said, do you want to meet with me at 5 or 6? Because I'm assuming they want to meet with me. And if they're adults, they can say, no, I don't want to meet with you, but I'm going to assume that they do. I'm going to give them 2 options. It's great to give customers options because it makes them feel like they have a choice. Makes them feel like they're being savvy buyers. But for you, it doesn't matter. I don't care if they choose 5 or 6 because I want to meet with them, and I'm available either way. Number 7. Ask how this problem affects them professionally and personally. Now, depending on what you sell, that may not be necessary to ask them. Like what I sell solutions like to businesses. If you're selling things direct to consumers, you may not even have that opportunity because maybe it's online sales and they just, through the ad, they go and they purchase it. That's great. But if you have a chance to talk to them, maybe if you reach out, you're trying to create a conversation, do some one-on-one time with past customers, do some market research with past customers. When you're asking them how it makes you feel, you should ask them how this really affects their life. Because by knowing those things, you can figure out maybe additional products you can create or different things you can sell them. If you can figure out the emotion, you can figure out the why, then it really helps you to, one, create a deeper relationship with that customer, but also really provide them even better service. But you have to really pay attention when you're talking to them. Number 8, ask them how they feel when you fix it. So that's important. Because when they buy something from you, no matter what it is, it should create some level of satisfaction, hopefully, or it should fill that need, or it should ease that pain point. And if it's not doing that, they probably won't buy from you again. So you have to take steps, either through surveys or follow up, to make sure you understand how they feel when you fix their issue. And if you're face-to-face talking to them, always trying to reassure them. Go for the close, leading that conversation, pushing them to the place where you want them to be, which is hopefully either they're going to get a proposal, or they're going to buy from you right then and there, or they're going to go on the website and purchase. And this can be done either in person or through your marketing process. to push them to the end that you want. So they can then get their need filled, and you fulfill that, however you deal with your products and services. And then number 10, my favorite thing, is get paid. Find a need, fill a need, get paid. So with understanding these basics in marketing and these basics in selling, I wanted to go through this first, make sure we kind of level set. And then we're going to go into the different types of entities you can market to. So, like I said, we're going to cover tonight B2C, which stands for business to customer, B2B, stands for business to business, and then B2G, which stands for business to government. Now, I'm actually putting business to customer and business to business together because there are many, many similarities. And they're absolutely different from how you, in many cases, get those customers. Now, this download I'm sending to you, I'm actually going to put a more updated one on the website, probably like maybe beginning of next week. So this is an older version. This is same information. It doesn't look like this. Since then, I've changed, the way that I've changed the, how it looks, the actual design of these slides. But a lot of the same information, or actually all the same information, all the same live links. I'm not going to go through these links. There's way too many, as you can see. I'm just going to touch on a few of them. I highly recommend, as you do market research, you use some of these links and some of the information in that download so that you can do some market research. But like I said, I know it doesn't look like this when you look at it. It's an older version, actually from an earlier program, but it does have the same information. So when you're trying to do research on your customer, and if you're doing B2C, here's some great websites, and this is free. So pewresearch.org, they have great information, like it's absolutely fantastic information. And when you go there, you can find articles and case studies and such, business related for various industries. Yours may or may not be there, but it's a great place to kind of look and get started. You can also find information on different demographics of certain types of customers. So if you reach out to a certain kind of age group, and maybe it's athletic men ages 20 to 60 living in a certain area, maybe they're all in Anne Arundel County, great. There may be something there on there for you that you can use to make a marketing decision. Census.gov. Why go to the census.gov? Well, census.gov, one, it's highly respected by lenders. If you're doing your marketing, if you're doing your market research, you're writing a business plan, they love to see that you're quoting census.gov, and they're using demographics from there. And so why would you use census.gov? So once you know who your target market is, you know their demographics, you can say, oh, I'm trying to reach men ages 20 to 60 in Anne Arundel County. And I know from my cash flow projections, I need to make a certain number of sales per year. And I want to have a market, and I'm going to assume a conservative market, a certain percentage of the market share of, let's say, 3% from that that group of men. Now then, by going to census.gov, you can say how many possible men fall in that category. That'll let you know if there's enough of them for you to sell to hit your revenue goals. That's the importance of it. It's all linked together. So that's where you go for that. BLS.gov, Bureau of Labor Statistics, government does, it's a government website as well. That's where they do, I think, a really great job of tracking industries. So it's a great place to, so let's say you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to get an office in another county or another city in Anne Arundel County. You can go there and you can say, okay, what are the trends like? Is that industry doing well? Are they going down every quarter? So let's say you sell food, and you look and see that people in that geographical area, in that zip code, usually spend 15% of their money on food. Well, hey, that sounds like that's a pretty good place to maybe do more research about opening up a shop there, or marketing there, or selling to people there. And so also, as you can see, there are a number of other websites. Like I said, most of these are free. You can go there and really get great information if you're selling business to customer. For business to business, same kind of thing, but these websites give you great information if you're selling to businesses. So Paychex and ADP, those first two websites, a great place to go. So let's say you want to know, how's a certain industry doing? Well, one thing to look at is the jobs report for that industry. So if they're adding jobs, that means they're probably making more money, right? If they're laying people off or they're losing jobs, that might, maybe it's just everyone got sick with COVID at a certain time. I think that happened in January because everyone got sick kind of like in December. So that affected paychecks. Not everyone, obviously a large number of people got sick around Christmas time or in December. And so that affected payroll in January. And so people thought that, oh, wait a second, a lot of people lost their jobs. But really what it was is people were sick. So you have to understand the data and really pay attention to it to make sure that the assumption you make makes sense, okay? Also another one, just real quick on the business to business side, Yelp.com. Great place to go to find out information. So if you're selling other businesses, let's say you sell training programs on customer service and they have terrible reviews, customers say that their process is terrible and it's inefficient, whatever, and the people are mean, right? That work for you or work for that company, then Yelp can tell you that. You can maybe reach out to them and see if they're open to talking about some things you can do to help them to improve in those areas. So, like I said, you can go to that download, and you can just check these out. And like I said, most of them are free. When you're selling B2C and B2B, I highly recommend keeping your message simple. Okay, now when you talk to people and then you realize, oh, wait a second, they understand the jargon in the industry, they're highly technical like me, great, take it up a notch, go all in, nerd out or whatever, right? But if you don't know who they are and you don't understand the level of understanding yet, start here. Right, start lower and then work your way up. Meet them where they are. So, but in marketing to them, if it's maybe it's a flyer or an email, whatever, it's probably always best usually to keep your message really simple in that initial advertisement, that initial thing that gets their attention. So, what are some things that you can say? Usually these things work. The product that you're offering, a service that you're offering is easier to use, manage, sustain, or implement. It's higher quality, more efficient, more accurate, faster, newer technology. Maybe it's better reporting, better metrics, or better visibility. Maybe it addresses the current need better than the existing product. Maybe it's a better customer experience. Maybe it's a higher likability and trust. Maybe they prefer working with you more than the other people. They feel more confident with you. Maybe your message is that you're at the top, and you're the top person in the industry. You're at that elite level, and that they should work with you in order to get the highest level of performance or best results. But with all these things, it's just really important that you create a brand, you create messaging. It really allows them to, one, see that you are someone they can trust and they can do business with, okay? And that when you as you talk to them, or as you do, so either you're researching them prior and then creating a process allows them to either online or easily using technology fulfill their own need to your website or go into your shop or whatever. But if you have to interact with them, making sure that you're asking them lots of questions as much as you can, either through surveys or forums on your website or whatever, so you can really understand what they need, and then you could create a solution as much as possible, or at least direct them to one of your established solutions. It really allows them to get their need met. This will create more trust. They will, if you make them happy, they'll like you, and they'll probably refer people to you or use your services again if necessary. Now, B2G, different, very different. So this, if you've never done government work, a lot of these terms you may never have heard before, but what I've done is, this took me about a decade to figure this stuff out, and I'm still learning things every day. And some of the panelists that you'll hear from tonight, I've learned a lot from them. But B2G, business to government, it's a long-term play. It's not an overnight, oh, I'm gonna call them and they're gonna buy something tomorrow. I've just never seen that happen. With the government, everything needs to, in most cases, be budgeted. And so the budget, so like they're going to create the budget for next year. They're probably starting to work on that probably like now, like through the summer. So they can have that turned in by October, get it approved, hopefully, and then January of next year. So it's a long-term process, but this is a great time right now if you're going to try and get them to buy something next year to start to build relationships now, go to meetings, respond to proposals, etc. But also they are buying things now, so it's a great opportunity to get to know them, reach out, and maybe get some of their smaller opportunities. I'm going to get to that in a second. But I think that government is a great way to really, one, diversify your clientele. When things are slow with maybe your business to business work or business to consumer work, the government, they may not be slow. Usually they don't shut down. Usually they don't shut down, and they usually buy things all year long. And they usually buy in bulk. And usually, it's like, so for them, a small project is $25,000 on the federal level, $5,000 on the state level, at least here in Maryland. So if that's bigger than your normal price that you sell, or if it's in line with it, you may want to consider ways that you can work with the government. And it may not be exactly what you're selling now. Maybe by using your existing infrastructure, you can provide them with what they need. But I just want to just kind of open you up to it, open your mind up a little bit to it to see if it's something you may want to consider. Because I can tell you, my first government contract changed my life, changed my business. Instead of chasing $1,000 here or $500 here, we got a $530-some-thousand contract with the Department of Defense. I was able to hire people, keep them on for a number of years. It really created a level of stability in my business that really allowed me to take a major jump. So I want you to at least consider it. And the government buys every single thing that you all sell. So next, number one, just got to jump in. This is the quick guide I created. So number one, you have to get a Dun & Bradstreet number. Remember when I was talking about building your business credit in week one, and I talked about it, it's really important that you get this DNB number, this Dun & Bradstreet number. If you, or when you got your EIN number for your business from the IRS, normally what I've seen is there's some kind of connection between IRS and DNB, and they push the information to them, and they create a DNB number, Dun & Bradstreet number for you. In order to get it, you have to use the exact information you used when you got your EIN number. And by doing that, that allows you to easily get your DNB number. There should not be a cost for it. If you don't use the exact information you use, like your same address, same spelling for your business, then they may ask you to provide lengthy paperwork or lots of paperwork to establish that you are who you say you are. But that's that link on fedgov.dnb. Directly to dnb.com. In this process is once you get that, then it's important to go and figure out your Nace codes. Nace stands for North American Industry Classification System. And so so imagine like somebody sat in the room many, many years ago and wrote down all the jobs in the world and then gave them a code. And so the government, when they say, hey, we want to hire someone, they don't say, oh, I want to hire a management consultant. They say, hey, I want to hire a consultant who has this expertise, 541163 or something like that. And that's management consultants. So if you go to this website, census.gov, once again, but you use this link for the Nace codes, what you're going to find is if you put in just keywords on what you may sell, what you do, you'll find a Nace code for it. And so if working with the government, you want to use that whenever, in responding to their requests for proposals. Number three, if you're going to participate in government contracting, you need to be in what's called SAMs, Systems for Award Management. It's basically a big database. You go and you register. It does take some time to fill everything out. It might take a couple hours because they ask for a lot of information, but you definitely need your DNB number to do it, and you definitely need your Nace codes to do it. So that's why I'm presenting it to you in this order. That's on the federal level. On the state level, it's called EMA, E-Maryland Marketplace Advantage. And you can go to that link, procurement.maryland.gov, and get registered there. It does not cost anything to register. Number 4, you have to know the rules, because people can go to jail if you don't follow the rules. We're working with the federal or state government. They don't want fraud. They don't want favoritism. They want a fair and open process, at least as much as possible. So you have to understand the FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulation. It's actually like the book. If you were to print out, it's like this big. And most of it is really, you should either have someone in your team that's familiar with it, or at least understand some of the basics of it, because the federal workers, they have to abide by every letter of the law. So if you do things that put them in a bad situation, like after you submit your proposal, you reach out to them, they're not supposed to talk to you after that. If you read the FAR, you would know that. So that to them says, oh, they don't know what they're doing, and they may not want to work with you because you're jeopardizing their jobs. Okay, so you can go there and become familiar. On the state level, they have a much shorter, it's like just a PDF. You can go and learn about their procurement process. And like I said, those are live links. You can go and check that out. Number 5, once you've done that, now it's time to start to look for contracts. So like I said, in the federal level, with sam.gov, you would go there. Now, there are thousands of potential opportunities. There are dozens of agencies on the federal level. And of course, there are 50 states, and there are dozens of counties in each state, probably at least. So there are thousands of different government opportunities. I probably hazard to say millions, on the federal and state level altogether. I'd say that's conservative. I think maybe over a period of time. So it's very easy to get overwhelmed and not really be able to be effective. So I highly recommend getting an administrative person to go through. You give them the requirements you're looking for, the Nace Codes, the size of the type of contract, and then have an administrative person get those alerts, because once you register, you put your Nace Codes in, they're going to start to send you alerts on things that you may want to bid on. Have an admin person do it, because it can be very overwhelming, and you don't have enough time to go through everything. In SAM, they're required by law to put everything over $25,000, all the contracts over $25,000. The little trick is that if you want to find the contracts that are smaller than that, reach out to the same contact person that's listed on each RFP on SAM. RFP stands for Request for Proposal. These are contracting opportunities. You do that so that, because they also probably, in many cases, have the link or have the information on smaller opportunities. And the same, and on the state level, it's under $5,000. So you can once again go there. For the informal bids, you can go to procurement.maryland.gov and get opportunities for state contracts. And then number 6, for subcontracting on the federal level, highly recommend checking out Subnet, Director of Federal Contractors, U.S. Department of Defense. Use these links, because that's for big companies called primes, the ones who win the big contracts. They go and look for small companies, because often the contracts they win, there's what's called a set-aside goal, where the federal government or the state government says, or the federal government says, hey, at least 23% of this work has to go to a small company. They can go there and find you if you're listed. So you can go there and you can find them and see what they're looking for and see if you can do that work. On a state level, they do a little differently. You get certified through MDOT, Maryland Department of Transportation. It's not just for the transportation contracts. They're the agency who certifies all the small businesses. You go there, get certified, and then so that way big companies can reach out to you. Also, a lot of other organizations reach out because they feel that this list has been vetted, because you have to go through a really pretty strict process. And then number 7, once you've done all that, get your capability statement together with a list of your Nace Codes. It talks about what you can do. And then that's when you start to reach out. I highly recommend reaching out to the SBA for the federal types of opportunities and getting connected to opportunities in the agencies. And of course, on the state level, using that link to check out and see who the contact people are there. We also have, for the state level, one of our panelists tonight. She is amazing. She can give you lots of great information as well. So we're very lucky to have her. And actually, of course, all our panelists, they're incredible. Certifications to consider. the federal level, women-owned businesses, women-owned small business, Hub Zone, 8A. You should use that link to go and see which ones you qualify for. I'm not going to go through them tonight. On the state level, the MDOT certification, there's a Maryland General Reserve. You can go, of course, to use that link to learn more about the MDOT. City or county. So in Baltimore, you go to baltimorecity.gov. For Anne Arundel County, it's called Port. You would go there. But you definitely should reach out to Keisha. If you've never done any work for Anne Arundel County, reach out to Keisha, and she can definitely get you connected to opportunities that are local, that are through the government or other agencies. With the government, earlier when I talked about B2C, I was talking about simplifying your message. You should do the same with the government. For me working with them, these are things I've found that they usually look for. When you describe it, it's less risky. It's SWP, smaller, lighter weight, uses less power. If you're working, especially with some of the armed forces, those agencies, saves more lives and creates a safer situation for our men and women in uniform. Less expensive, saves money, more efficient, reduces man hours or personnel, easier to implement and manage, okay? Now, like I said, the government marketing process is long and it's different from when you normally sell to B2C or B2B. So first, you have to really think about, what do you want to be known as? Like, so for me, I want to be known as the go-to on, for counties in Maryland, for county governments in Maryland is the go-to for entrepreneurship training. So that's what I hit. I look for those opportunities and I stay focused on that. So in 5 years, I'm known as the guy to go to. So I have to make sure that the work I take and the work I go after supports that narrative. Next, I choose my target market. I narrow down all the agencies. So I've done some research. I figure out who usually buys what I sell, and I narrow it down. I recommend focusing on maybe like 3 to 4 agencies tops. It's too hard. You shouldn't go after everything. You should narrow down. Also, that makes sure that lets you build that narrative that you're the go-to for these certain agencies. By getting those alerts, you can start to identify opportunities, figure out what you're going to go after. Then you figure out, okay, so that kind of just builds a list. Then which ones will you pursue? Okay, always trying to narrow it down as much as possible. And usually what we're trying to think about when we do opportunity qualification is, who do we know? Like, is there some kind of advantage we have? Nothing illegal, of course, but just like, hey, who do we know there that can really help us or give us information? Capture management. So look, this is when we start to meet with the team and we're like, look, okay, we're trying to be the go-to for these county governments. We're trying to be the go-to for these federal agencies. Let's have a meeting and talk about these opportunities, which one we're going to go after and which ones we think we can actually win. Then we decide, okay, we're going to bid or not bid on these. Then whatever we're going to bid on, we write a proposal. And that could be a very expensive, long process. Small proposals are like 50, 60 pages usually on the state level. If you're building a bridge or doing some roads, you probably look at binders worth of information to submit. So, just be aware, and it's great to have a team or have obviously someone who can write well and who's very detail oriented, who can step by step go through that request for proposal and write a proposal that meets every single thing. And then, of course, you submit it, and hopefully you'll get the award. B2G, some things to consider before we wrap up. These are the last 2 slides, and we'll get ready for the panel. I think is already here. But marketing to B2G, business to government, please consider your audience, and then just do research. You can find them on LinkedIn. Try and find commonalities to build rapport. Number 2, always understand who you're presenting to and how they can assist you. 3, who do we know and how can we influence the decision makers and influence the request for proposal? We're actually writing it. If you get in early enough and build a great relationship, you may be able to help them. I give them information and help them write it. Has the budget been formally approved and funded? Sometimes things, they start talking about ideas years in advance and doesn't get funded for a number of years. So be careful with that. Help out to build a relationship, but you don't want to spend way too much time doing it and not getting paid. Next, do they understand the business need? Do you understand the business need? Because sometimes the person who writes the RFP and puts it out, request for proposal, may not be as familiar with the technical aspects of the need. So it's important that you do your homework and you talk to people on the technical side so that you can understand what are the needs and how you're going to fill them. Also, you should understand the evaluation criteria. It's not always whoever's cheapest wins. We won a contract with a county government, and we were actually the highest price from what I hear. We actually beat out, a school, like a community college, and they had a much lower price, but we had the best solution. That's what they said to us. They chose us. So, and of course, some contracts, they are based on lowest bid, but not all of them are like that. So you have to make sure you understand what are the criteria and how they're weighted. You should have like 1-minute versions, 3-minute versions, 15-minute versions, 45-minute versions of your presentation, because you never know when you're going to get a chance to talk to somebody. I've waited outside a bathroom or two for somebody to come out so I can walk them down the hall and pitch something to them. It is what it is. If you really want the work, you've got to go after it and get the information. Well, whoever you talk to, you're polite, and you want to thank them for their time and make sure you understand, okay, thank you so much for this information. Who should I talk to next? Who can could you give me a name, an email address, something so I can reach out to them? And then once again, and finally, know your story. Know the story you want to tell, and that should relate to the value proposition you offer your current clients. So it all rolls up and creates a great narrative. So 5 years from now or 10 years from now, you can say you were the go-to for these different agencies and you did a great job, and here are the agencies that you done numerous projects with. It all starts, you have to have that idea in your head first, and then you just every day you take these steps in order to do it. Now, as I said, this is a lot of information to really think, thinking about marketing to the government, thinking about marketing to, of course, other businesses, and then of course, marketing direct to consumer. It is a lot of information. So I definitely recommend that you watch this again or listen to it again, and you use those links to start to do the research. Okay. I think that